My wedding is more important than your graduation. That's what my sister told me. Not as a joke, not in anger, just as a fact. She said if I walked across that stage, I shouldn't bother coming to her reception. Then she demanded I book a $2,800 executive suite on my credit card as my wedding gift. When I refused, she told the entire family I abandoned her. My phone exploded, aunts, cousins, my parents. Then she sent me a message that changed everything. If you test me, I'll make sure you don't walk at all. So I kept every screenshot, every demand, every threat, and I made a choice. I went to my graduation. I didn't go to her reception, but while she was smiling in her wedding photos, the executive suite was being destroyed. 3 days later, she sent me the hotel bill. And that's when I ended it. The first time my sister told me my graduation didn't matter, she said it like she was giving me directions to the nearest gas station. Not angry, not even loud, just certain. Your graduation is cute, Mara said, smiling into her phone like she was practicing for a photographer. But my wedding is more important than your graduation. You understand that, right? I remember staring at the email on my laptop screen, the one with the university seal at the top and my name spelled correctly for once. It was the kind of email that made my throat tighten because for the last 4 years, I'd been living in a constant state of almost failing, almost losing my job, almost running out of money, almost deciding I wasn't smart enough and quitting. The email was simple. Your ceremony is scheduled for Saturday at 10 a.m. Please arrive by 8:30 a.m. for lineup. Saturday. The same Saturday my sister had been talking about like it was a national holiday for months. I didn't want to fight. I didn't want to make it a thing. I didn't want to become the villain in whatever story Mara was already writing. So I tried to talk like a normal person. Hey, I said, keeping my voice low because my neighbors could hear everything through the thin apartment walls. I just got my ceremony time. It's the same weekend. Mara clicked her tongue. Not in surprise, in annoyance, like my calendar was a rude interruption. I told you my wedding weekend is locked in. We already paid deposits. I know. I'm not asking you to move it. I'm just saying, the actual ceremony is Saturday morning. I can go to that and then come straight to... No, she cut in, and the smile vanished from her voice. You can't. I blinked. I can't. Attend my own graduation ceremony? You're in the wedding party. I never agreed to be in the wedding party. There was a pause on the line that told me she was deciding which version of herself she needed to use. Public Mara, the sweet one. Private Mara, the one who spoke like she owned you. You did agree, she said finally, calm again. When I asked you if you were supporting me, you said yes. That's agreeing. I stared at my sink full of dishes, the stack of unopened mail that was probably more bills, and the cheap graduation cap I'd ordered online because the bookstore one was a ripoff. Supporting her. That phrase was the trap. If you said yes to supporting Mara, it didn't mean emotional support. It meant labor, money, compliance. It meant you were signing away your right to have priorities. Mara, I said, and I heard something in my own voice that surprised me, something tired and careful. This is my graduation. And I'm getting married, she snapped like I'd forgotten. And you're acting like this is about you. It wasn't the first time she'd made something about her, obviously. Mara had been doing that since she was old enough to understand that tears could change outcomes. Growing up, she didn't throw tantrums the way some kids do, flailing and screaming. She was more strategic than that. She learned early that if she stayed calm, people believed her. If she spoke like she was reasonable, the other person automatically sounded unreasonable. And if she used words like family and loyalty and after everything I've done, people would bend because nobody wants to be the person who breaks a family. The funny part is, Mara didn't even like our family. She liked what she could extract from it. She liked the way Mom orbiting her made her feel like a planet. She liked the way Dad avoided conflict so he'd throw money at problems until they stopped making noise. And she liked me because I was the one who always cleaned up the mess afterward. I was the guy who showed up when her car mysteriously died and she needed a jump. I was the guy who covered her half of rent just this once when her roommate moved out unexpectedly. I was the guy who drove 3 hours on a Tuesday because she locked herself out and literally nobody else cares about me. I was the guy who said yes, 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 because if you didn't, Mara didn't just get mad. She punished you. With silence. With gossip. With turning people against you. With that cold, clinical tone she used when she wanted you to feel defective. So yeah, I supported her. The difference was I thought I was allowed to support myself too. Mara, I said again, I'm not trying to compete with you. I just want to go to the ceremony. It's 2 hours. No, she said, sharper now, because Saturday morning is bridal prep. Photos, hair and makeup. We're doing the first look setup. The videographer is coming early. We have schedules. Schedules I've never seen. I sent them. You didn't. I sent them, she repeated. And I could picture the look on her face, the one she got when she decided reality was optional. And even if I didn't, you should know. You should just know. You're always so wrapped up in your little school thing lately. My little school thing. I actually laughed. It came out ugly. 4 years, I said. It's not a little thing. I've been working full-time and taking classes at night. I've been exhausted for 4 years. And I've been planning this wedding for a year, she shot back. Do you know how stressful that is? I could have argued, but arguing with Mara is like trying to nail smoke to a wall. Every point you make becomes proof you're attacking her. Every boundary you state becomes punishment. So I tried a third route, the one that always used to work when we were kids and she hadn't learned how to weaponize everything. Compromise. Okay, I said slowly. How about this? I go to my ceremony Saturday morning. I'll be there by noon. I'll help with whatever you need after that. I'll be at the reception. Absolutely not, she said. And now she sounded disgusted, like compromise itself was insulting. You want to show up halfway through and act like you did something? No, either you're with me or you're not. It was such a clean line that it didn't even feel like a decision. It felt like an ultimatum. And I knew exactly why she liked ultimatums. Because if you didn't pick her, she got to call you a traitor. She got to be the victim. She got to make the whole family look at you like you'd kicked a puppy. I swallowed and stared at the email again, like it would change if I stared long enough. Mara, I said, I'm going to my graduation. There was a silence so thick I could hear my refrigerator humming. Then she laughed. Not a happy laugh. A laugh that said, you don't know who you're dealing with. You're not, she said, because if you do that, don't bother coming to the wedding. You can't have it both ways. I didn't answer immediately because a part of me, the old part, still wanted to fix it, still wanted to smooth it over, still wanted to avoid being the reason Mom cried and Dad sighed and relatives whispered. But another part of me, the part that had been holding itself together through finals and night shifts and 1,000 little humiliations, was suddenly still. Like something inside me sat down and folded its arms. Okay, I said. What? Mara snapped. Okay, I repeated quieter. If that's how you're doing it, then okay. I could hear her breathing now, fast, offended. She wasn't used to me not scrambling. She wasn't used to me bargaining. You're unbelievable, she hissed, after everything I've done for you. I almost asked her to name one thing. I almost did, but I didn't, because I knew how that would go. She'd list emotional labor she never actually did, or she'd take credit for Mom paying for something once, or she'd reach into the past and pull out any moment I'd ever needed help and hold it up like a debt. So I didn't give her the satisfaction. I'm not fighting, I said. I'm just letting you say what you mean. I mean you're selfish. Okay. I mean you're trying to ruin my wedding. Okay. I mean you're jealous. Okay. She paused, thrown off by the lack of resistance. Then her voice dropped into something sweet and poisonous. Do you want Mom to hate you? And there it was. Not guilt, not love, a threat. I'm not doing this, I said, and my hand was shaking against the phone. We'll talk later. We won't, she said, because you just chose your little cap and gown photo op over your sister, over family. You're going to regret this. Then she hung up. I sat there for a full minute, phone still pressed to my ear, listening to the dead air like it might explain something. Finally, I set it down on the counter and stared at my reflection in the microwave door. I looked older than I should have. Dark circles, jaw tight, the kind of face you get when you're always bracing for impact. And I thought, very clearly, she's going to tell everyone I abandoned her. She's going to do it fast. She's going to do it loud. And if I didn't get ahead of it, I was going to be fighting shadows for months. So I called Mom. Mom answered on the second ring, breathy like she'd been waiting for the call. "Hi, honey," she said, too bright. "How are you?" That tone was my warning. Mom had already heard something. Mara had already planted the seed. "Mom," I said, "Mara and I just talked about the weekend." There was a tiny pause, then Mom sighed like she was already tired. "Oh, God," she said. "Please don't do this right now. She's under so much stress." "I'm under stress too," I said, and I hated how small my voice sounded. "My graduation is that Saturday morning." "I know," Mom said quickly, "but Mara's wedding is only once." I waited for her to hear herself. She didn't. "My graduation is only once too," I said. Mom did that thing she always did, the thing that made it impossible to argue with her without feeling like you were punching a pillow. She made herself sound sad. "I just don't understand why you can't be flexible," she said. "Mara needs you." I laughed again, softer this time, almost like a cough. "I need me," I said. "I need to be there." "Your diploma doesn't disappear if you don't walk," Mom said, and I swear she thought that was wisdom. "You can celebrate later." There it was. The family rule. Mara's milestones were events. Mine were inconveniences. I gripped the phone tighter. "So you're not coming either?" "I didn't say that," Mom said quickly, "but you know how weddings are. There's family flying in. Your aunt has the hotel booked. Mara has the hairstylist. I can't split myself, okay?" The way she said it, like she was the victim of physics. I imagined my graduation ceremony, the stadium, rows of families, parents crying, people screaming names, and I imagined my seat empty. Not because my family couldn't, because they wouldn't. "Mom," I said, and my throat tightened so hard it hurt. "I've been doing this for 4 years. I've been paying my own tuition. I've been working nights. I've been eating ramen and pretending I'm fine. I just wanted you there." "I am proud of you," Mom said, instantly, like it was a script she kept on a sticky note. "I am. But please, don't make this a war." I closed my eyes, because that was what she always called it when I tried to stop being quiet. A war. Like I was the aggressor for not surrendering. "I'm not making a war," I said. "Mara is. She's telling me I can't go to my own graduation." "She didn't mean it like that," Mom said automatically. "She did," I said. "She literally said her wedding is more important than my graduation." Mom exhaled and her voice went softer. "She's just emotional." "No," I said, and the word came out like a door shutting. "She's controlling." That did it. Mom's tone changed. "Don't call your sister controlling." "Why not?" I asked, and now my voice was sharper, because something in me was cracking. "Because then we have to admit it's true?" "She's your sister," Mom said, like the relationship itself was supposed to erase behavior. "She loves you." I almost said, love shouldn't feel like a hostage situation, but I didn't, because I could already hear how Mom would respond. She'd cry. She'd say I was being dramatic. She'd say I was selfish. She'd say I was punishing the family. Instead, I said, "I'm going to my graduation." Mom's silence was long enough that I could hear the TV in the background, some game show cheering like everything was normal. Then, carefully, Mom said, "If you do this, you're going to break her heart." And there it was again. Not what Mara was doing to me, what I was doing to Mara by refusing to comply. I took a slow breath. "Mom," I said, "I'm not responsible for her emotions." Mom made a small sound like I'd slapped her. Then she said, "You've changed." Maybe I had, or maybe I was just tired of being the same. We ended the call without resolving anything, which in my family was basically a declaration of war anyway. I sat on my couch in the dark for a while, staring at the cheap cap and gown hanging over a chair like it belonged to somebody braver. My phone buzzed. A text from Mara. "Mara, Since you're choosing to be selfish, you can at least do one thing right and book the hotel block like you promised. Everyone's waiting and I'm not dealing with this right now. I stared at it, confused. I hadn't promised anything. Then another text. Mara, also the bridal suite is sold out. You'll need to book the executive suite at the Linden for Friday and Saturday. Put it on your card. I'll pay you back after. Then, like she was tossing scraps to a dog. Mara, consider it your wedding gift. My stomach dropped. Because I knew the Linden. It was the fancy hotel by the river where people held corporate conferences and took pictures in the lobby like it was a museum. And I knew exactly what she was doing. She was creating a financial chain. If I booked it, I'd be tied to the weekend whether I wanted to be or not. If I refused, she'd tell everyone I left her stranded. I read the messages again, slowly, and felt something cold settle in my chest. This wasn't about me being present at her wedding. This was about proving she could still command me. My phone buzzed again. This time it was my best friend, Tessa. Tessa, you okay? You sound off. Call me when you can. I didn't call. Not yet. I didn't want to cry on the phone like a kid. I didn't want to admit how much it hurt that my own family would rather I shrink myself than inconvenience my sister. So instead I did what I always did when I felt powerless. I opened my laptop. I pulled up my bank account. I pulled up the hotel website, and I stared at the price per night like it was a threat written in numbers. Then my phone buzzed again. A new message from Mom. Mom, please just book the hotel. We can sort everything else out later. Don't embarrass us. Don't embarrass us. Not, don't hurt your brother. Not, don't bully him. Not, don't demand money you know he doesn't have. Just, don't embarrass us. I stared at the screen until my vision blurred. Then I took a screenshot of the messages. Not because I planned to use them. Not yet. Just because something in me, the part that was finally waking up, whispered, save everything. Because if you don't, she'll rewrite it, and everyone will believe her. I stared at Mara's demand again. The suite, the hotel block, the gift. And I realized something that made my skin prickle. Mara wasn't just trying to steal my weekend. She was trying to make me pay for the privilege. I set my phone down and leaned back on the couch, staring at the ceiling like it might offer instructions. My hands were shaking, but my mind was oddly clear. If I booked that hotel, I would be trapped. If I didn't book it, I would be branded. Either way, Mara was going to take something from me, unless I decided, for the first time in my life, that she didn't get to. I picked up my phone and typed one sentence, slow and careful, like placing a glass on a table. Me. I'm not booking anything on my card. If you need a room, book it yourself. I hit send. The typing bubble appeared immediately, then vanished, then appeared again. Then my phone rang. Mara. I looked at her name on the screen and felt my heart slam against my ribs. Not with fear exactly, with anticipation, like standing at the edge of something and knowing if you step forward there's no going back. I answered, "Are you out of your mind?" Mara's voice exploded through the speaker, and just like that, the calm mask was gone. I didn't speak. Mara, I thought, go ahead. Show me who you really are. And she did. You don't get to do this to me, she hissed. Not now. Not when everything is set. Do you have any idea how many people are counting on you? On me? I said finally, and my voice sounded strange even to me, flat and steady. Or on your ability to control me. You're being disgusting, she snapped. I'm your sister. And I'm your brother, I said. Not your bank. There was a beat of silence. Then she went lower, colder, like a knife being slid out of a sheath. If you don't book that suite, Mara said, I will tell everyone exactly what kind of person you are. I almost laughed again, because she was saying it like she hadn't already started. And because, for the first time, the threat didn't land the way it used to. It didn't make me scramble. It made me curious. Tell them, I said. Mara inhaled sharply. You think you're so brave, she said, and now her voice was shaking with rage. You think your little graduation makes you special. Newsflash, nobody cares. People will remember my wedding. Nobody remembers a graduation. The words hit anyway, because even when you see the punch coming, it still hurts when it lands. I swallowed hard and stared at the cap and gown. Then I said quietly, "I care." Mara laughed, sharp and cruel. "You're going to regret this," she said again. "I'm giving you one chance. One, book the room. Be where you're supposed to be, and stop trying to make me look bad." "I'm not making you look bad," I said. "You're doing that all by yourself." Then she screamed my name like it was a curse, and something inside me clicked, not loud, not dramatic, just final. I pulled the phone away from my ear and ended the call. My hands were shaking harder now, adrenaline racing through me, but my chest felt lighter. I didn't know what was coming next, but I knew Mara. She didn't lose control quietly. And I knew my family. They didn't protect people like me. They protected the person who made the most noise. I looked at my screenshots again, all the messages lined up like evidence in a case nobody wanted to prosecute. Then I opened a new note on my phone and started listing dates, messages, requests, costs, not because I wanted to fight, because I was finally done being unarmed. And as I typed, my phone buzzed with another message from Mara, the one that made my stomach twist and my blood run cold, because it wasn't just about the hotel anymore. "Mara, fine, if you want to play this game, I'll make sure you don't walk at all. I know people at your school. Don't test me." I stared at it, heart pounding, and heard Tessa's voice in my head like a warning bell. "Save everything." I took another screenshot, then another, because the thing about people like Mara is, they think they're untouchable. They think being family makes them immune, but threats have a way of changing the rules, and for the first time, I wasn't thinking about keeping the peace. I was thinking about protecting myself, and that meant the peace was already dead. I didn't sleep that night, not because I was afraid she'd actually sabotage my graduation, because I knew she would try. The threat wasn't theatrical, it was practical. Mara had always had a talent for making things happen in ways that didn't leave fingerprints. She'd mention concerns to the right person. She'd frame a situation like she was just worried. She'd plant seeds and let other people water them. By morning, my phone looked like a crime scene. Missed calls from Mara, 3 from Mom, 2 from an aunt I hadn't spoken to in months. A text from Dad that simply said, "Call your sister, fix this," like she hadn't detonated it. I rolled out of bed, pulled on jeans, and went straight to campus. I needed to see something solid. Brick buildings, bulletin boards, the normal world. When I walked into the administration office, I felt ridiculous, like I was about to confess to being in a spy movie. "I just need to confirm something," I told the woman behind the desk, forcing my voice steady. "No one else can make changes to my graduation registration, right?" She looked confused. "No, only you. It's tied to your student account." "Even if they call, claim their family?" She smiled politely. "We don't give out information without authorization." Relief hit me so hard I had to grip the counter. "Okay," I said. "Thank you." I walked out into the courtyard and sat on a bench. Students were taking pictures in caps and gowns already. Parents with cameras, laughter, normal. I checked my phone again. New message from Mara. "Mara, you're humiliating me. Aunt Alina already asked why you're busy. What am I supposed to tell people?" I typed back before I could overthink it. "Me. The truth." 3 dots appeared, stopped. Then, "Mara, the truth is you're choosing a piece of paper over your sister." I stared at the screen. A piece of paper. 4 years of 2 a.m. essays. 4 years of working shifts that left my back screaming. 4 years of watching my bank account hover just above zero, reduced to a piece of paper. My phone rang again. Dad. I almost let it go to voicemail, but I didn't. "Hi," I said. "What is wrong with you?" he asked immediately. No greeting, no curiosity. "Good morning to you too," I said. "This isn't funny," he snapped. "Your sister is distraught." I closed my eyes. "Because I won't skip my graduation." "You can graduate anytime," he said. "You only get one wedding." "I only get one graduation too." "Don't be dramatic." There it was, the family script again. I was always the dramatic one, the difficult one, the one who made things harder than they needed to be. Dad exhaled heavily. "Look, I don't want to take sides." "But you are," I said quietly. Silence, then irritated. "You know what I mean." "I do," I said. You don't want to deal with her. That's not fair. It's accurate. Dad's voice hardened. If you don't show up for this wedding, people are going to talk. People already are, I said, because she's making sure they are. He ignored that. Your mother is crying. That landed, not because it changed my mind, because it showed exactly how the system worked. Mara pressed. Mom absorbed the blast. Dad blamed whoever refused to yield. I rubbed my face. Did Mom cry when Mara told me my graduation doesn't matter? Dad hesitated, then defensive. She didn't say that. She did. Well, she didn't mean it like that. I laughed softly. She meant it exactly like that. He didn't respond. He didn't need to. Silence was his way of stepping aside while the stronger personality won. Just book the hotel, he said finally. Why are you making this about money? Because money was control. Because if I booked the executive suite on my card, I'd be on the hook for thousands. Because Mara's "I'll pay you back" had a 0% repayment history. Because she already owed me $1,800 from last year's emergency. But none of that would matter to Dad. You know I'm not swimming in cash, I said. She's under pressure, he replied, like that was currency. I've been under pressure for 4 years. He sighed, the sound of a man who didn't want complexity. I don't know why you two can't just support each other. Support. I almost said it again. Support meant comply. Support meant sacrifice. Support meant swallow it. Okay, I said slowly. Let me ask you something. If my graduation was the only event that weekend, would she skip her wedding for me? Dad didn't answer. Exactly, I said. You're twisting this, he muttered. It's not the same. It was exactly the same. The only difference was whose milestone the family valued more. We hung up with nothing resolved. Within an hour, the extended family started circling. Aunt Alina texted me a long paragraph about family unity. My cousin sent a passive-aggressive message about how success means nothing if you lose your roots. Lose your roots. I wanted to ask them where they were when I was eating canned soup 3 nights in a row to make tuition payments, but I didn't, because I realized something important. Mara wasn't just angry, she was campaigning, and the campaign had one goal: isolate me until compliance felt easier than resistance. Around noon, Tessa called. I finally answered. Tell me everything, she said. So I did. All of it. The ultimatum. The hotel. The threat about knowing people at my school. Tessa was quiet for a long time. Then she said, She's not upset about the schedule. I know. She's upset you're not bending. I leaned back against the bench. Yeah. She needs you in the audience for her power, Tessa said. If you're at your graduation, that's a narrative she can't control. I stared at a group of students taking selfies, parents cheering. I just wanted them there, I admitted quietly. I know, she said, but wanting that doesn't mean you have to sell yourself to get it. The words hit deep because they were true. I'd been selling pieces of myself for years, small ones, affordable ones. Now Mara wanted a big one. I can't afford that hotel, I said. You shouldn't book it even if you could, Tessa replied. If she wants it, she can put it on her own card. She says it's my wedding gift. Your wedding gift can be a blender like a normal human, Tessa said dryly. Not a luxury suite. I laughed for the first time in 24 hours. Then my phone buzzed again. New message from Mara. Mara, since you're refusing to help, I had to use my credit card for the suite. Do you know how embarrassing that is, after everything you've done to this family? I stared at it. She'd booked it herself, which meant the threat was always leverage, not necessity. I typed back carefully. Me. I didn't do anything. I'm going to my graduation. Mara. So you're really choosing this? Me. I'm choosing me. There was a long pause. Then, Mara. Don't bother coming to the reception. I read it twice, because that was new, not just an ultimatum, an expulsion. And suddenly, I understood the shape of the punishment. She wanted to deny me my family in front of witnesses. She wanted people to ask, "Where's your brother?" So she could sigh and say, he had more important things. I felt heat rise in my chest. Not rage, clarity. I called her. She picked up on the first ring. You can't uninvite me from the reception because I won't skip my graduation, I said calmly. I absolutely can, she snapped. It's my wedding. And I'm your brother. Not this weekend, you're not? There it was, transactional. You're really willing to blow this up, I said. You already did, she shot back. You made me choose between being humiliated or cutting you out. I'm choosing me. The irony almost made me dizzy. That's what I'm doing, I said. She went quiet. Then her voice dropped to that cold register again. If you show up at that ceremony, don't expect to be part of my life after. I thought about that. About holidays, birthdays, the illusion of closeness we'd maintained through obligation, about always being the backup plan. And I realized something I hadn't admitted out loud before. I was already not part of her life. I was part of her logistics. If that's the cost, I said slowly, then that's the cost. Silence. Then she laughed softly. You think you're strong right now, she said. Wait until you see what this does. The call ended. I sat there for a long time staring at the campus fountain. A week ago, I'd imagined this weekend as something clean and joyful. My family in the stands, Mara in the front row maybe, teasing me but proud. Now it felt like a battlefield I never signed up for. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a group chat notification. The family chat. Mara had posted. Mara. For anyone wondering, my brother won't be attending my wedding events because he needs to walk across a stage. Please respect my space during this stressful time. Replies flooded in. Oh, sweetheart, stay strong. He'll regret this. Family comes first. I stared at it, heart pounding. She'd framed it perfectly. No mention of ultimatums, no mention of threats, no mention of the hotel demands, just a neat little story where she was abandoned. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. For years, I would have stayed silent, let it wash over me, absorb it. But the screenshots were sitting in my camera roll like proof of oxygen. I opened the thread, and for the first time, I didn't type a defense. I typed evidence. Me. For context, Mara asked me to skip my graduation ceremony and book a $2,300 executive suite on my card. When I said no, she uninvited me. Then I attached screenshots. Her exact words, my refusal, her threat about knowing people at my school. I hit send. For 10 seconds, nothing happened. Then the chat exploded. Aunt Alina. What is this? Dad. Mara? Mom, please stop this publicly. Mara. You are insane. But the screenshots were there, immutable, her words in black and white. You're selfish. Book it on your card. Don't bother coming. I watched the typing bubbles appear and disappear. For once, the narrative wasn't just hers. And I knew deep down that whatever happened next, we were past the point of pretending. Because once you show people who someone really is, you can't unsee it. And Mara had just lost control of the script. I stared at the screen, waiting for the real explosion. It didn't take long. The explosion didn't happen in the group chat. It happened 5 minutes later when Mara showed up at my apartment. I didn't even know she was in town yet. I was still sitting on the campus bench, watching the typing bubbles flare and die, when Tessa texted, Tessa, I think she's at your place. I just drove by and saw her car. My stomach dropped. I sprinted to my car and drove home faster than I should have. When I turned onto my street, I saw her immediately. Parked crooked hazard lights flashing like she was responding to an emergency. In her mind, she was. I parked behind her and stepped out slowly. She was already out of the car, pacing in front of my building in heels too thin for the cracked sidewalk, wedding planning binder tucked under her arm like a weapon. When she saw me, her face shifted. Not rage. Performance. Tears. You humiliated me, she said, before I even reached the steps. I told the truth, I replied. You posted private messages. You threatened my graduation. Her mouth tightened. I was emotional. You said you knew people at my school. That was a joke. It didn't read like one. She took a step closer. You're doing this because you can't stand that the attention isn't on you. I actually laughed. You think I want attention? I asked. I wanted my family in the stands for 2 hours. You could have had that any time, she shot back. You picked this weekend. I didn't pick it, I said. The university did. And I picked my wedding, she snapped, because I'm building a life. What are you building? The question hit harder than I expected, because that was the real thing under all of it. She didn't see my degree as legitimate adulthood. She saw it as a hobby. "You think marriage makes you superior?" I asked quietly. "No," she said, chin lifting. "I think commitment does." I stared at her. Commitment. Like I hadn't been committed to surviving on fumes for 4 years. Like I hadn't committed to showing up for her over and over at my own expense. "You're not mad I'm missing a hair appointment," I said slowly. "You're mad I'm not bending." Her eyes flickered. There it was. Then she did something I didn't expect. She smiled. Not warm, not happy, cold. "You know what?" she said. "You're right. I am mad." She stepped closer until we were inches apart. "I am mad because for once I need you to show up and you're making it about yourself." "I always show up," I said. "That's the problem." She flinched. "Not physically, emotionally." "You think you're some martyr?" she asked. "No," I said. "I think I'm tired." She scoffed. "Tired of what? Helping your sister?" "Tired of helping you and being told it's not enough." Silence stretched between us. Cars passed. Someone walked a dog across the street. The world kept moving. "You don't understand pressure," she said suddenly, voice cracking for real this time. "Do you know how much this wedding costs? Do you know what people expect?" "That's your pressure," I replied. "Not mine." "Your family," she snapped. "It is yours." "No," I said. "It isn't." Her face hardened. "You've always been jealous," she said. "Of what? Her ability to manipulate? Her gravitational pull in a family that rewarded volume over integrity?" "I was proud of you," she continued. "I told people my brother was finishing school. I defended you when Dad said it was pointless." That surprised me, because I'd never heard that part. "And now," she went on, "you're making me look like the villain." "You did that yourself," I said. Her eyes flashed. "You posted those messages like I'm some monster." "I posted them because you were lying." She shook her head slowly. "You could have called me." "I did." "You could have talked it through." "I tried." "You could have just booked the room and avoided all of this." There it was again. The solution was always compliance. I took a deep breath. "Do you hear yourself?" I asked. "You threatened my graduation. You demanded thousands of dollars. You uninvited me. And you think the problem is that I exposed it?" "You didn't need to expose it publicly," she hissed. "So you could control the story privately?" Her hand tightened around the binder. "I am getting married in 5 days," she said, voice shaking with fury. 5 days. And instead of being excited, I'm cleaning up the mess you made." "I didn't make it," I said. "I refused to participate in it." She looked at me like I'd slapped her. Then she said the thing that finally broke something open. "If you walk at that ceremony," she said quietly, "don't ever call me your sister again." The words landed heavy. Not shouted, not dramatic. Final. And for a split second, I felt it. The old reflex, the one that said, fix it, apologize, shrink. Because losing a sister isn't abstract. It's childhood memories. It's shared secrets. It's the only other person who remembers the house you grew up in exactly the way you do. But then I thought about something else. All the times she'd borrowed money and never mentioned it again. All the times she'd canceled plans last minute because something better came along. All the times she'd told me I was too sensitive when I tried to explain I was hurt. And I realized something brutal. I wasn't losing the sister I wish she was. I was acknowledging the sister she actually is. "I'm walking," I said. Her eyes went glassy. "You're unbelievable," she whispered. "No," I said softly. "I'm done." She inhaled sharply, then laughed through her tears. "You think this is strength?" she said. "This is you burning your own bridge." "No," I replied. "It's me realizing I was the only one maintaining it." For a moment, we just stared at each other. Then she straightened her shoulders, wiped her face, and the performance returned. "Fine," she said. "Don't come to the reception, don't show your face at the venue, and don't expect to be in any wedding photos. I'll tell people you chose school over family." "You already did," I said. She smiled thinly. "And when Mom sides with me, don't act surprised." That one hurt, because I knew it was likely. Then she leaned in one last time. "And by the way," she said quietly, You're still paying for that hotel block if people cancel because of your stunt. I blinked. What? I told everyone you were coordinating, she said calmly. If rooms drop, the cancellation fees come back to the card on file. Cold washed through me. You put my name down? I asked. She didn't answer directly. You were supposed to handle it, she said. I never agreed to that. You didn't refuse, she shot back. That was her logic. Consent by silence, obligation by assumption. I pulled out my phone immediately and opened the hotel website. She watched me. What are you doing? Fixing your mess, I said. I called the hotel right there, on speaker. Hi, I said when the receptionist answered. I need to confirm that I am not financially responsible for any wedding block under the name Mara. Mara lunged forward. Give me that, she hissed. I stepped back. The receptionist spoke calmly. Sir, the block is under the bride's name. All reservations require individual cards at booking. Relief hit me like oxygen. So there's nothing under my name? I asked. No, sir. Thank you. I ended the call. Mara's face had gone pale. You're paranoid, she snapped. No, I said. I'm careful. She stared at me for a long moment. Then she did something I didn't expect. She laughed, low, bitter. You really think posting screenshots makes you the hero? She asked. I don't care about being the hero. What do you care about? I didn't answer immediately. Then I said, peace. She looked at me like I'd spoken another language. Peace is earned, she said. No, I replied. It's protected. For a second, something flickered across her face. Not rage, not cruelty, fear. Because she was realizing something too. If I didn't fold, her leverage disappeared. And leverage was her oxygen. She took a step back. Fine, she said flatly. Go to your graduation. She walked to her car, opened the door, then paused. And when you're sitting there alone, she added without turning around, remember that you chose this. The door slammed. She drove off. I stood on the sidewalk long after her car disappeared. Remember that you chose this. I did choose. And for the first time, it didn't feel like betrayal. It felt like survival. But I knew she wasn't done. People like Mara don't walk away quietly when they lose control. They escalate. And I had a feeling the real fallout wasn't going to happen before the ceremony. It was going to happen at the reception, where I wouldn't be, and where my absence would be the loudest thing in the room. Graduation morning felt unreal, like I'd stepped into someone else's life. The campus was loud, bright, full of families carrying bouquets and balloons. Parents wore uncomfortable shoes. Kids ran between rows of folding chairs. I stood there in my cap and gown, holding the program in both hands so people wouldn't see them shaking. I scanned the stands once, twice. No mom, no dad, no Mara, obviously. I knew they wouldn't be there. But knowing and seeing are two different things. The empty space where they should have been felt physical, like a missing tooth your tongue keeps pressing. Hey! Tessa appeared beside me, holding 2 coffees. I figured you'd forget to eat, she said, handing one over. I swallowed hard. You didn't have to come. I wanted to, she replied. That's the difference. That hit deeper than she probably meant it to. We sat down among hundreds of strangers and waited for the ceremony to begin. When they called my name, I stood. The walk across that stage wasn't cinematic. There was no slow motion, no swelling music. But when the dean shook my hand and said, "Congratulations," something inside me steadied. Not pride. Ground. I wasn't a piece of paper. I wasn't a little school thing. I was someone who finished what he started. When I walked back to my seat, I checked my phone. 23 missed calls, all from Mom, 14 texts from various relatives, and one from Mara. Mara, I hope you're happy. I stared at it for a moment. Then I turned my phone face down and watched the rest of the ceremony, because for once I wasn't going to let her script the moment. After it ended, Tessa dragged me into a dozen photos. We laughed. We took one with my cap thrown in the air. For a brief, fragile hour, I felt normal. Then reality slid back in. My phone buzzed again. Group chat. A photo from the reception hall. Mara in her dress, smiling wide. Caption, "Surrounded by the people who showed up." The message was clear. I almost replied. Almost. Instead, I opened my email. Because the hotel issue wasn't done. Even though the block wasn't under my name, I knew something else would surface. Mara never threatened idly, and right on schedule, it did. An email from the Linden Hotel. Subject, Incidentals, Executive Suite. My stomach tightened. I opened it. It wasn't addressed to me. It was a forwarded message from Mara. She had sent it to me with one line above it. Mara, since you abandoned us, this is your responsibility. I scrolled. The executive suite had charged $2,870 in damages and additional services, broken glassware, ruined linens, extra cleaning, and a minibar that looked like someone had hosted a frat reunion. Attached was a note from the hotel stating that the card on file had declined and they were requesting alternate payment. And that card was Mara's. I sat there staring at the number. Then I started laughing. Not hysterically, not happily, just incredulously. She'd booked it herself. She'd insisted on the expensive option. She'd probably hosted half the bridal party in it. And now that it blew up in her face, she wanted me to absorb it. My phone rang. Mom, I answered this time. Your sister is devastated, Mom said immediately. I'm sure she is, I replied calmly. She's at her own reception crying. Because I went to my graduation? Because you posted private messages. Because you embarrassed her. Because you left her to handle everything alone. She wasn't alone, I said. She had a hall full of people. That's not the point. It never is, I replied. Mom's voice trembled. The hotel is demanding money. You need to fix this. Why? I asked. Because you're her brother. No, I said evenly. Because she wants someone else to pay. Mom inhaled sharply. She can't afford that right now, Mom whispered. She shouldn't have booked it. She thought you'd help. I did help, I said, for years. Silence. Then Mom said something that surprised me. She's always felt like you judge her. I blinked. I judge her? She thinks you think you're better than her now. That stung, because I'd spent most of my life feeling smaller. I don't think I'm better, I said quietly. I think I deserve boundaries. Mom started crying. Not loud, not dramatic, just exhausted. I don't know how we got here, she said. I almost said, we got here because you kept protecting her from consequences. But I didn't, because that conversation would never land. Instead, I said, Mom, I love you, but I'm not paying that bill. So you're just done, she asked. With the bill, yes. With your sister? I looked down at my cap sitting on the kitchen table, tassel still hanging off the side. I think she already decided that, I said. Mom didn't respond. After we hung up, I drafted one final message. Not emotional, not reactive. Clear. Me. You booked the suite. You controlled the guest list. You uninvited me. The charges are yours. Do not contact me about this again. I sent it directly to Mara. She responded within seconds. Mara, you're dead to me. I stared at the screen for a long moment. There it was, the nuclear option, the sentence meant to wound. But instead of panic, I felt something else. Stillness. I typed back one final time. Me. Then stop reaching out. And I blocked her. Blocked her number. Blocked her social media. Left the family group chat. Not dramatically. Not with an announcement. Just quietly. Like closing a door that had been slamming for years. The fallout was messy. Relatives called, some angry, some confused, a few surprisingly supportive. Dad tried to mediate twice. Mom left voicemails about holidays and what will people think. I didn't respond, not because I was trying to punish anyone, because I was done negotiating my own worth. A week later, a cousin sent me a screenshot. Apparently, the hotel had pursued Mara directly. Her card had eventually gone through after Radu transferred money. There had been an argument, a big one. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt removed, like watching weather on another continent. Months passed. No apology, no accountability, just silence. And in that silence, I realized something painful. I missed her. Not the version that showed up at my apartment screaming. Not the version that weaponized guilt. I miss the sister I thought I had when we were kids, the one who used to sneak snacks upstairs, the one who'd sit on my bed and whisper about crushes. But that version didn't survive adulthood. Maybe she never existed the way I remembered. What I know is this: graduation photos are framed on my wall. My family isn't in them, but I am. And for the first time in my life, that feels like enough. People ask sometimes if I regret it, if it was worth losing a sister over just a ceremony. Here's the thing: it was never about the ceremony. It was about being told over and over that my milestones were optional, that my effort was negotiable, that my value was conditional. Skipping her reception and sending her the hotel bill wasn't revenge. It was a line. And once you draw a real line, you don't erase it because someone cries louder. I didn't lose my sister because I walked across a stage. I lost her because I stopped kneeling. And if choosing myself makes me the villain in her story, I can live with that. Because in mine, I finally showed up. Graduation morning felt unreal, like I'd stepped into someone else's life. The campus was loud, bright, full of families carrying bouquets and balloons. Parents wore uncomfortable shoes. Kids ran between rows of folding chairs. I stood there in my cap and gown, holding the program in both hands so people wouldn't see them shaking. I scanned the stands once, twice. No mom, no dad, no Mara, obviously. I knew they wouldn't be there, but knowing and seeing are two different things. The empty space where they should have been felt physical, like a missing tooth your tongue keeps pressing. "Hey," Tessa appeared beside me holding 2 coffees. "I figured you'd forget to eat," she said, handing one over. I swallowed hard. "You didn't have to come." "I wanted to," she replied. "That's the difference." That hit deeper than she probably meant it to. We sat down among hundreds of strangers and waited for the ceremony to begin. When they called my name, I stood. The walk across that stage wasn't cinematic. There was no slow motion, no swelling music. But when the dean shook my hand and said, "Congratulations," something inside me steadied. Not pride, ground. I wasn't a piece of paper. I wasn't a little school thing. I was someone who finished what he started. When I walked back to my seat, I checked my phone. 23 missed calls, all from Mom. 14 texts from various relatives, and one from Mara. "Mara, I hope you're happy." I stared at it for a moment. Then I turned my phone face down and watched the rest of the ceremony. Because for once, I wasn't going to let her script the moment. After it ended, Tessa dragged me into a dozen photos. We laughed. We took one with my cap thrown in the air. For a brief, fragile hour, I felt normal. Then reality slid back in. My phone buzzed again. Group chat, a photo from the reception hall. Mara in her dress, smiling wide. Caption, "Surrounded by the people who showed up." The message was clear. I almost replied, almost. Instead, I opened my email. Because the hotel issue wasn't done. Even though the block wasn't under my name, I knew something else would surface. Mara never threatened idly. And right on schedule, it did. An email from the Linden Hotel. Subject, Incidentals, Executive Suite. My stomach tightened. I opened it. It wasn't addressed to me. It was a forwarded message. From Mara. She had sent it to me with one line above it. "Mara, since you abandoned us, this is your responsibility." I scrolled. The executive suite had charged $2,870 in damages and additional services. Broken glassware, ruined linens, extra cleaning, and a minibar that looked like someone had hosted a frat reunion. Attached was a note from the hotel stating that the card on file had declined and they were requesting alternate payment. And that card was Mara's. I sat there staring at the number. Then I started laughing. Not hysterically, not happily, just incredulously. She'd booked it herself. She'd insisted on the expensive option. She'd probably hosted half the bridal party in it. And now that it blew up in her face, she wanted me to absorb it. My phone rang. Mom. I answered this time. "Your sister is devastated," Mom said immediately. "I'm sure she is," I replied calmly. "She's at her own reception crying." "Because I went to my graduation? Because you posted private messages? Because you embarrassed her? Because you left her to handle everything alone?" "She wasn't alone," I said. "She had a hall full of people." "That's not the point." "It never is," I replied. Mom's voice trembled. The hotel is demanding money. You need to fix this. Why? I asked. Because you're her brother. No, I said evenly. Because she wants someone else to pay. Mom inhaled sharply. She can't afford that right now, Mom whispered. She shouldn't have booked it. She thought you'd help. I did help, I said. For years. Silence. Then Mom said something that surprised me. She's always felt like you judge her. I blinked. I judge her? She thinks you think you're better than her now. That stung. Because I'd spent most of my life feeling smaller. I don't think I'm better, I said quietly. I think I deserve boundaries. Mom started crying. Not loud, not dramatic, just exhausted. I don't know how we got here, she said. I almost said, we got here because you kept protecting her from consequences. But I didn't, because that conversation would never land. Instead, I said, Mom, I love you, but I'm not paying that bill. So you're just done? She asked. With the bill? Yes. With your sister? I looked down at my cap sitting on the kitchen table, tassel still hanging off the side. I think she already decided that, I said. Mom didn't respond. After we hung up, I drafted one final message, not emotional, not reactive, clear. Me. You booked the suite. You controlled the guest list. You uninvited me. The charges are yours. Do not contact me about this again. I sent it directly to Mara. She responded within seconds. Mara, you're dead to me. I stared at the screen for a long moment. There it was, the nuclear option, the sentence meant to wound. But instead of panic, I felt something else. Stillness. I typed back one final time. Me. Then stop reaching out, and I blocked her number, blocked her social media, left the family group chat. Not dramatically, not with an announcement, just quietly, like closing a door that had been slamming for years. The fallout was messy. Relatives called, some angry, some confused, a few surprisingly supportive. Dad tried to mediate twice. Mom left voicemails about holidays and what will people think. I didn't respond, not because I was trying to punish anyone, because I was done negotiating my own worth. A week later, a cousin sent me a screenshot. Apparently, the hotel had pursued Mara directly. Her card had eventually gone through after Radu transferred money. There had been an argument, a big one. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt removed, like watching weather on another continent. Months passed. No apology, no accountability, just silence. And in that silence, I realized something painful. I missed her. Not the version that showed up at my apartment screaming. Not the version that weaponized guilt. I missed the sister I thought I had when we were kids. The one who used to sneak snacks upstairs. The one who'd sit on my bed and whisper about crushes. But that version didn't survive adulthood. Maybe she never existed the way I remembered. What I know is this. Graduation photos are framed on my wall. My family isn't in them, but I am. And for the first time in my life, that feels like enough. People ask sometimes if I regret it, if it was worth losing a sister over just a ceremony. Here's the thing. It was never about the ceremony. It was about being told over and over that my milestones were optional, that my effort was negotiable, that my value was conditional. Skipping her reception and sending her the hotel bill wasn't revenge. It was a line. And once you draw a real line, you don't erase it because someone cries louder. I didn't lose my sister because I walked across a stage. I lost her because I stopped kneeling. And if choosing myself makes me the villain in her story, I can live with that. Because in mine, I finally showed up. It was never about a graduation, and it was never about a wedding. It was about control. She needed to prove that my milestones were optional, that my success was secondary, that my role in the family was to comply. I didn't skip her reception out of spite. I skipped it because I finally understood something. If you have to shrink to keep the peace, there is no peace. The hotel got their money, the reception went on, the photos were posted, and I walked across that stage without them. I didn't lose a sister over a ceremony. I lost her the moment I stopped kneeling, and I haven't regretted standing up since.